Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
Good, brother. Fall is here, so it's cool in the morning and warm in the afternoon, which I kind of like. Yeah, I feel good. How are you doing?
Doing great, man.
Yeah?
Doing great. Just got back from Alaska not too long ago. Definitely fall over there.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised with so many trees in Alaska, all changing colors, beautiful scenery, nature, wildlife. Ate some caribou and some king salmon.
Salmon's good. You had caribou? How was that?
It was good.
Yeah?
It was good. It's kind of like a beef and not super gamey. You taste a little bit of game. Like if you have it by itself, you'll be like, oh, this may not be beef, but it's pretty good. I liked it. Had some reindeer sausage.
You can make anything taste good in sausage.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it was a good time. Happy to be back, though.
How was the weather up there?
It was nice. It was kind of like it is here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 50s. Not too bad at all.
That's good. Yeah, I want to get up to Alaska, but only during the summertime.
Yeah.
I don't want no part of Alaska winter.
Me neither.
I'm not tough enough, to be honest with you. I watched a little bit of shows with the Alaska winter stuff, and I'm like, dude, I couldn't make it.
Dude, you're tough enough. It's just like, why be that tough every day? Like, I'm not trying to brave negative 40 degrees every day.
When you know you could just stay inside and turn on the heater.
Yeah, like I'm out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see myself being up there in winter. If you find me in Alaska in the winter, my life took a wrong turn.
All right, noted.
Yeah, it was good to have you back. How are you doing with reviewing last week's? Are you passing the test?
Yeah, I think so. I think that episode made me think a little bit because, like I shared in it, I don't tend to think about things as tests, more opportunities. But when I tried to frame things coming at me like a test, it made me think differently, and I feel that I am execute on a lot of things that I want to talk about today, executing in ways to where I'm moving towards my goals, I'm being productive, I'm doing my part in trying to spread joy, spread positivity to others, but it starts with making sure that I'm doing that for me first, and I think that I'm doing a pretty good job of that, and in light of many difficult situations in the world and in our personal lives, and that's something that I want to share on today. How about you?
Probably the opposite of that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I've struggled during this time. I think probably because Andrea and I really set up like 5-year goals, 10-year goals, and we have things we're working to, and that's really rattled all of that. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much uncertainty that I think I'm still processing the regroup process. So I think I'm doing better because I'm allowing myself to go through it instead of just trying to like solve it right now and get going, which may put me on a different path. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenge for me. Unlike, I don't know that I've felt this tested or challenged ever before in my life, maybe. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a season for us. Like, our kids are all getting ready to leave the house. So there's kind of like, what kind of world am I sending you out to? This is not, you know what I mean? Because like for us, we raised our kids to have certain dreams, and now I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's tomorrow brings. Mm-hmm. Which is in itself a good thing, right? Because you're teaching them perseverance and don't be so attached to your goals that you're not able to navigate differently. But yeah, it's definitely been a strange season for me. Rebuilding businesses, evaluating, do I even want to stay in businesses? Do I pivot and go a totally different direction? And then just honestly, for me, I've just never seen so much meanness in the world. And I've struggled with that.
Where would you say that you are seeing meanness?
Oh, well, definitely the media, right? Any mainstream media stuff's never good. It's all, and then on people's social media. Which is probably why I'm a little more disconnected than normal, is because I probably, on average, maybe go on social media for like an hour a week. Just because I get there, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why do I want to watch you hate this person for that? Like, Where's the dog pictures? Like, what happened to being friendly on social media?
Yeah, I hear you.
So I don't know, man. I think it's a process, but I'm not gonna pretend like I'm doing well. Like, I don't think I'm doing well. I don't think I'm definitely not serving like I used to. We've talked, I think, on a couple episodes about there's times to give out, and then there's times to kind of pull back. And I feel like this is a pull back time for me to really evaluate things. And I still believe there's a lot of good that's going to come in the world. I just don't think it's right now. Like right now we're suffering a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I'd like to challenge that idea, because what I see from my perspective is totally different.
Yeah.
You know, you're still inspiring and motivating people on a daily basis. I mean, I walked out of the gym last night and I just caught a couple sentences of one of the students kind of pouring his heart out, his problems. I didn't hear what you had to say, but knowing you, I know you're not going to just write him off. And I'm sure that you gave him some good lifelong advice, which you do on a daily basis there at the gym, you know, in all of your interactions. You may not be putting out as much as you used to in past months on social media, or, you know, I know that we haven't had as many guests and things on the podcast, but I would say that kind of your baseline, even your low activity is still a powerful promoter of positivity and goodness in the world, you know, and I see that on a daily basis from you. But I think that what you're experiencing, it kind of tends to put the veil over what you're really doing, which, you know, I just want to remind you that you're still doing it on a daily basis.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But, you know, I just want our community to realize, like, it's okay not to be 100% all the time. You know, and it's okay to feel like, man, I don't know if I'm passing this test. Right? I don't know. But you got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
And you got to keep doing something and find it there. So, yeah, I mean, we all have those different pockets. But for me, it's just an interesting time.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it wouldn't have been interesting having my kids all leave the house, because Andrew and I have had a family forever.
Yeah, that's huge.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different pieces going on, but you're absolutely right, dude. We all get to control our happiness. You know, we all get to control, do we spend hours and hours like researching every possible thing, which happens, right? We get sucked into them rabbit holes and you're like, dude, what happened to my day? I've literally found 5 new conspiracies. Or do we go out and, like you know, go out and eat some caribou?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and challenge yourself to be happy. So with that being said, I want to hear your thoughts this week as we share kind of some ideas on how do we make ourselves happy during a time when, quite honestly, a lot of people don't want you to be happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And you've done a fantastic job. Like, you know, being at the gym, I see, you know, thankfully we're coming back up. So we're about 80% of where we were before they shut us down, which I'm very thankful for. So I see people, you know, there's a couple people that I have on my list I check in with every day because I know they're in positions where they're getting beat up constantly. And some days they come in head down, we have to talk. Other days they're like, I'm okay. But like, okay is as good as I can get them right now because of what they're facing. But you come in, dude, and like if I watch your energy, I would have no idea that it's not rainbows and gumballs outside. You know what I mean? So how have you found yourself able to stay there?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. It's definitely not always rainbows and gumballs.
I love it, though.
Yeah.
But we need your rainbows. We don't need your rainballs. Take that back. Edit that shit out.
Rainballs.
Courtney, I apologize.
Yeah, I you know, we talked a little bit about this in a previous episode, and it's a mix of a few things. I think one of the biggest ones, especially for me, is other people.
Yeah.
Being around a community, whether that's That's trials. And I'm finding myself happier because I'm building my team at work, which is where I spend most of my time. Have a new awesome regional sales manager who I'm spending a lot of time with, employee here I'm spending a lot of time with, and people and community is always huge. Even if you think you're not a people person, like being around loved ones, being around people that can make you smile, make you laugh. I mean, that's kind of number one, first and foremost, which for you makes sense of you just had Trey leave the house, someone that's been a source of positive energy and happiness for you guys for so many years.
Yeah.
I'm sure that void obviously doesn't help the current situation. So I feel that can be a big piece of you feeling that there's not as much there for you, but just kind of like you said, you have this opportunity to check in and help uplift people every day to where people are coming in. So I think community's number one, and there's a lot of other things that just kind of depends on you. Obviously movement, physical activity. I will also say for me, a big one is cannabis. Using cannabis as a tool to help elevate my mood and unwind at the end of the day is fantastic. And I think especially for Americans, we have so many other drugs that people regularly use, alcohol, antidepressants, stimulants. I mean, America is the most medicated country in the world, and I think that can...
Yeah, we're one of the least healthy.
And one of the least healthy. And, I also have experience with being prescribed to different drugs and alcohol and things like that, to where I have seen time and time again, going in those patterns, you may feel good a little bit, but it's highs and lows. Even like with the stimulants that I used to be prescribed to Adderall, like working all day and then feeling like these real lows, and even almost repelling time with people, wanting to be in isolation and work. And I've seen that. And I think, knowing that a lot of Americans are either consistently drinking alcohol or taking their prescription drugs, I see and know that can be really devastating to the human psyche. And me being in the position in the cannabis industry, I know that cannabis is playing a role in really elevating our consciousness and our ability to love each other. You never heard of a stone guy starting a fight, or a high a smoking and driving accident. That's alcohol. Alcohol spurs violence. Alcohol spurs cannabis. I mean, there's a bunch of funny sayings like "pass the bong, we'll all get along," like that. It's a plant. This isn't an engineered product. This is a plant that has been uniting and bringing people together for thousands of years. So for me, that's kind of one of the, and also another tool that helps me, even though I take tolerance breaks, and I'll have days where I don't touch cannabis, a couple of weeks every now and then, but that's also another tool in conjunction with being around community, moving my body on a daily basis, meditating, practicing gratitude, all these things combined. It's like kind of the win today episode. If I do all those things that I know work and set it up, dude, of course I'm going to be rainbows and gumballs every day. You know?
So how have you changed, though, with the rules and the guidelines now that are kind of keeping people apart?
Mm-hmm.
How have you adapted to make sure you're still finding community or getting into community?
Yeah, that's been more difficult. Thank God trials opened up.
But see, I think that was going to be one of my points, right?
Yeah.
We literally had to violate all of their rules to, one, save our business, and two, to give people a place to be part of community again.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying violate all the rules, whatever, respect whatever you respect. But if it doesn't make sense and you are a people person and you have the ability to impact others through your community, I encourage you to think about maybe you should be open.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't tell you how many parents come in with their kids and are like, thank you guys for being here. This is the only place my kid smiles. This is the only place my kid can touch and play with other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have adults. We have our senior citizens fighting Parkinson's. And it wouldn't be there if we followed all the rules. Like, we literally would not be doing this. So how have you adapted? And I'm not saying like breaking the rules, but how have you found the ability to stay connected in community?
Well, I've been fortunate to have already built communities and friendships before COVID hit. So for us, it's really taken the initiative of, hey, let's have some people over. Let's cook some food and have a game night with another couple, or hey, Stack wanted to invite some guys over to watch the UFC fights and play some poker. Hey,
take all your money.
Yeah, hey, I want big time. I want big time last. I took everyone's this time. So
good.
But yeah, we had a good time playing, and even brought Courtney along with me, and some other people brought their significant others. So I had a nice little community event there. Went and visited Courtney's sister in Alaska. Had some nice time bonding there, and really appreciating whoever I can spend my time with. Speaking of my new regional sales manager, his name is Quinn. Awesome guy, high energy. He's all rainbows and gumballs too, man. He's great, and that's another thing. Surrounding myself with people. I mean, you've met Bree. Always smiling. She's like a human phone charger, man. If I come in here and I'm kind of down, she boosts me up, has a bright smile, always laughing, always cracking jokes. Same thing with Quinn. Just charges me up. And I'll tell you what, practicing my gratitude, I've been really grateful for those two, because those who I'm around mostly during the work time, and I'm like, wow, I'm really lucky to be surrounded by people, because not a lot of people are like that. Always smiling, always in a good mood. I mean, sometimes I feel they're bringing me up.
Yeah.
And I'll come in and I feel really grateful to be around them. So surrounding yourself with people who uplift you. And I lost my train of thought there. I was about to say something about Quinn. Oh, he shared this quote that he said, my grandmother told me something that always stuck with me, and it stuck with me since he shared this. And he said his grandmother said that the person in front of you is the most important person in the world. So in any exchange in that moment, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. That's the most important person in the world, because it's right now.
Yeah.
And I think that we tend to forget that sometimes, spend too much time thinking about the past or what's going to happen in the future, and don't really enjoy each other right here, right now, no matter what else is going on in the world. And I have found to try and exercise that. We've talked about it in every interaction, whether it's with a grocery store clerk or a person that I'm selling to, even a customer who's being an asshole, just like remembering, like, this is a person I'm giving my all to. And in conjunction with everything I said before, that keeps me happy. Of course, there's those moments where you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, right? Everyone has that. But I think focusing on a lot of these things we know that are proven scientifically to release endorphins and dopamine and things that help us feel better, exercise, eating well, being around community, gratitude, meditation, all these things, maybe sprinkle in a little cannabis here and there. Overall, your well-being, you're going to feel pretty good. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, that's good. And I think a big piece of that is having that community. You kind of already had it established, so now you're just leaning on it more.
Mm-hmm.
And you've added Quinn, but the framework was there, and I think that's hopefully something people take away. If they don't have that community, like, start identifying those people.
Yeah.
Start building it, and everybody probably has at least one or two people that will uplift you. Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to reach out and get a hold of them and check in with them.
Yeah. I mean, would you say as a coach and leader for so many years, how would you say you feel when someone comes to you saying, like, I'm really down, I'm having a hard time, I need some help, kind of thing? How does that make you feel?
I mean, well, honestly, it depends. Mm-hmm. If it's the same person with the same problems for months and months, they're probably going to get a different response from me.
Yeah.
If it is somebody that's new, like there's one lady that I check in with every day. She's a school teacher, and she's really struggling because of the mask, and she works with special needs, English second language children. So the more barriers you put between them, the harder it is to educate them. Like, I take her to heart, and anything she says, like, I'm gonna think about, okay, how can I help? You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm there to help people for sure, but you also got to help yourself a little bit.
For sure.
And if you're gonna keep coming to me, so I like it as long as we're making progress, but I'm not gonna be able to just crutch all day every day.
Right.
So I think there's balance, and I think, but more importantly, I'll tell you what I do appreciate is somebody that helps other people. It's nice when somebody asks you how you're doing, right? I think sometimes we forget that, right? Like, oh man, I got this dude. He's always good. He's always. Let me check. I'll just go tell him what I got. And every now and then you got to check in on those people too.
Yeah, it's nice to be checked in on, man.
It is.
We had Jeremiah from the gym. He sent me a message because he always goes to Breakfast Club, and we have a small, pretty close
group.
You
missed it.
Yeah, and he's like, dude, where you been, man? We need you. Where are you? And I was like, oh, my guy, checking in. And again, it goes back to community,
So I think that's a balance, right? Like, it's good to be able to help others, but I think it's also good to be able to allow others to help you. And I think sometimes we have this facade of everything's good, right? Because you are a helper, then you always got to be good. Then you're not really helping other people if you're not good yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's which I think is part of just being honest and being like, dude, I don't know, I fucking spent 6 hours watching conspiracy things today, so I suck right now. I'm awful right now. I need to go on a run, or I need to go do something different. So I enjoy being there for people. I always have been. And I think that's part of what I struggle with internally right now is how should I best show up, right? Because part of me just wants to rage against all these stupid rules and all this stuff. But I'm like, well, there's always so much noise in that area. Like, you won't stand out, and two, do people need more of that in their life? So then how do you get to a different place? And I think that's really what I'm working through right now is trying to serve and trying to show up, but do it in a place that feels good and produces results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense.
Because I want to rage, to be honest with you. I want to be like, let's fucking go march on our own. But I'm like, well, what does that do? And there's already so much. It's just like you said that one episode, there's already so much anti-everything that I'm really trying to figure out, okay, how do I be pro? Like, what do I want to be pro for? And what do I want to bring people with me for? And just, I think working through that thought process is a huge piece for me right now.
Yeah.
But people are a huge part of it because the more I get to interact and the more I hear what's going on in their world and check in, I see happy people, sad people, all the people in between. But I see them coming to the gym day in, day out, and I know they're getting better. It's helping provide answers, I think. And they're not immediate answers, but it's a processing of it. And honestly, it helps me decide what my future looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're watching Game of Thrones. I've never seen that show, and I was so against watching it when I was in college because I was just hyper focused on progressing, and I was like, I don't have time for shows, and I rarely watch shows, but for whatever reason, Courtney had brought it up, and we're like, all right, like let's start watching this show, and it's badass. Game of Thrones is awesome. It's
like medieval dragons
times,
and stuff.
Yeah, but it gives you a look into how the world once was, just all battles and wars and families, and you were born into a family, and that was your status, and the lack of care for human life at all.
Yeah.
I mean, so much killing. It's just like, whoa. So it's cool to have that kind of as a consistent part of my life. We'll watch a few episodes a week now, and we're moving right along, and it makes you really appreciate the world that we live in today, because if there was a virus or something back in those times, man, I feel like everyone would just be killing each other.
Yeah.
And just to know that killing is not a common, you murder someone here, it's like you're going to prison most likely.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to read and learn about other times in history, because we naturally just like to compare, to where when we can do that, science shows that we feel so much better about our lives when we can read about or learn about times when life was much harder or much more dangerous or much less attractive.
Yeah, well, I think you hit it on the head. I haven't watched Games of Thrones, but I see lots of memes of attractive people on that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, comparing's good in some ways, only if you're going to learn lessons, though. You know, I mean, if you're learning your lesson, if we're looking for parallels in what we're going through now and what people went through in the past and how we can handle it differently, I think is good. If you're comparing, you know, the thing that I hate hearing people say is, I can't wait to get back to normal. Like, if you literally think you're going to unwind what's happened for almost a year now, like 6, 7 months, 8 months into this deal, and just go back to last February and the world's back there, I think you're kidding yourself. You'll never be back there. Mm-hmm. But if we look back wondering what we can learn, I think there's going to be a lot of lessons in this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's kind of the point of why we read books and stuff, right? Is to understand what they were going through, what they did, and learn. Are there parallels? Are there things they did well? Are there things we should do differently?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really all comes back to being present, being in the moment.
That's true. Because let's focus on that. If you and I just enjoy this moment, none of that other stuff really matters.
No.
Right? Like, who wins the presidential election has no impact on this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe down the road it's important, but right now it's not. The mask doesn't matter right now. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, where we struggle a little bit, is we keep looking over things instead of focused on right here, you know, and just enjoy all the small moments that make up your days.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, you know, back to Quinn's grandma's quote, I think it's not only the person in front of you, but anything in front of you. That moment in front of you is the most important moment in the world. And we write off. I'm guilty of it too, of writing off so many things of like, let me get through this so I can get to the next one. I mean, I'm guilty of even workouts that I enjoy sometimes. Yeah. Like, when is this going to be over? You know, or a conversation, you know, thinking about the next thing, to where I have found in my experience, when I switch that thought pattern to really like, I'm right here, I'm happier. I'm happier being present, but that can be really hard to do sometimes when we have so many distractions, so many different things going on. But when we can overcome those distractions and really be in the moment with the other person that we're with, out and really enjoying the walk, whatever it is that we're doing, we tend to be happier.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I've done that I had been working on, but this really helped propel, is I put a automatic email response on my inbox. And it basically just says, hey, I'm balancing my work and family life, so I'll get back to you sometime in the next week. You know, and if it's an emergency, call me or text me. And if you don't have my number, then it can't be that big of an emergency, and I'll get back to you in a week.
I love it.
You know, and I literally just, I used to always have my inbox open on my computer, so, you know, you pop up in the corner if you're working on something else, you go over and check it. I just go into it when I want to. And, you know, if you think back to even January, one of my goals was to slow my life down, to focus a little more and be a little more present instead of always trying to be so productive that I missed the moment. So for me, that's something that's definitely helped. You know, structure is, I don't know what happened to our video there, but I'll go turn it back on. Yeah, just structuring the day a little better, so now I don't sit and wait for emails to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I read that Napoleon Bonaparte would tell his messengers to not give him mail.
He did.
That was
he had a period of time, like a week or 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Because he found that most of the problems solved themselves if he just let them go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would only look at mail like once a month or something.
Yeah, and I actually got this. I've known about it, but I actually sent an email on a business deal, and the guy's automatic reply was something very similar. And I was like, shit, he's pretty, you know, that's a good idea. Because that tells people, like, hey, I'll get back to you in a week.
Yeah.
But don't sit by your computer and wait for it right now.
Right.
And we have a tendency, right? Like anything that comes in as an emergency, we've got to deal with it right now. And really, like Napoleon was, in his example, is most things solve themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to let everything be an emergency to us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I think community, setting limits for ourselves. I mean, I think there's a lot of good stuff that when we look back on this period of time, we can see that we couldn't have experienced, or we hadn't experienced until this came through.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it can be hard to stay present when you wanna turn on the news, when you want to see everything that's going on, and just not be here.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right on that one. And it's weird because it doesn't make you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody I know watches the news is like, man, I feel so good now. But people do it still. Like it's almost like an addiction to bad news and to what else is wrong. And I know there's studies out there that talk about like dopamine levels and stuff. If people like your post, you get a certain rise. And I don't know if there's any studies, maybe you do, but I'm pretty sure that like for some reason, especially Americans, but I think a lot of humans, we're attracted to bad news.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why the news is so successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it releases a chemical to us or it just gets us craving, or if we watch that, then we're kind of like you were saying earlier, we watch that and then we're like, oh, okay, my life ain't that bad. Like, look at all this stuff. If we're in comparison mode, I don't quite understand it, but I know we got to fight that urge to be going too far down that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure if there's one specific answer as to why, but that's definitely something worth looking into. It's interesting too, when we look at some of the best and most watched or listened to shows or podcasts, a lot of them have to do with crime and murder and, murder mysteries and things like that. Horror films are really popular.
Dude, think about that. This is one of the things that's always baffled me. Like we're on a time right now where I'd say a minority of the citizens, but a very loud minority, are very anti-police. Mm-hmm. Yet police TV shows and police movies are constantly among the most watched. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's like a dichotomy. Like we're kind of against them, but we really want to know what they do.
Yeah.
And like you said, the podcast, like we want to solve crime. So kind of everybody kind of wants to be a cop, but they still don't like cops.
Yeah.
So it's and I've always found that interesting. Even prior to this time, at being a policeman for 21 years, everybody would be like, dude, did you watch like this show? And I'd be like, dude, I'm a cop all day. I don't watch cop shows when I go home. Like, it's literally, that'd be, I wouldn't want to do that. But it's definitely a segment of our population. They get happiness watching that stuff. And then, now don't get me wrong, I have no illusion that the people out rioting are watching cop shows. But I know a lot of people do.
I wouldn't be
and the
surprised
podcasts are huge.
Yeah.
Some of the top podcasts are all those true crimes and stuff.
Yep, murder mysteries.
Yeah, I don't quite get it.
Whatever works for you,
I guess. I couldn't imagine just sitting and listening to more mayhem. Like, there's enough mayhem already. I got to filter that shit out. So what else so we talked about community was a big thing for both of us. Movement. For me, I can tell you I've done more hikes since this whole deal started in March than I've ever done in my life. Even last weekend I went, and we got a lot of wildfires here in Colorado. I went out in the crazy bad smoke.
Yeah. And
still hiked 4 hours.
Oh wow.
To get up to some peaks where I could actually see a little bit of the fire and some 14 or so. I'm thankful for that, because quite honestly, I had that hike I just did has been here for the last 20 years I've lived here. And I don't think I ever hiked it prior to this whole process.
Oh, wow.
So just to find an appreciation for nature's helped me a lot.
Oh, 100%.
Just seeing animals and just listening to them and slowing down to realize how much is going on around you all the time.
Yeah, definitely time in nature.
Did you get out and do much in nature up in Alaska?
Yeah. Not too much like deep hiking or anything
Yeah.
like that, but we went to this like wilderness preservation place, saw a bunch of muskox and bears and reindeers and moose, and Courtney's sister and her husband live like deep in the woods. So it was pretty cool. They have like 5 acres out there. So we were just kind of
Out in the woods, though.
Yeah. I mean, you're like a mile from a main road, but
Feels like a long mile, huh?
yeah. Yeah.
They have
Just
cell
tall
service?
trees. It's not very good. So we were mainly on Wi-Fi. They got Wi-Fi, but yeah, it's a dry cabin. So they have to fill up their like 50-gallon
Yeah.
thing every couple weeks.
So,
So they don't have like running water.
No.
They have the plumbing and all that, but
Yeah.
they have this big tank that
yeah,
they
they
need
just
to fill
pump it
up.
in, turn
Yep.
on the water pump.
Yeah. So it's a different
What
world.
about the composting toilet?
No, it's a regular toilet, but they have to continuously like supply their running water.
Interesting.
You
guys are getting off grid almost.
Oh yeah. They're definitely off grid. They're right outside of Fairbanks, so.
That's the interior.
But yeah, I saw a lot of people out there, and you would think, oh man, it could kind of be scary and depressing. It's cold and nothing but a bunch of woods and shit out there. But people seem pretty happy, man. Simple life, but
Maybe that's a lesson for us too, man. Simple life is not. There's value in the simple life. There's value in less technology and more connections.
I mean, more money, more problems, they say, is a true statement. But I would say more things, more problems, more material, more problems. There's a lot of philosophy out there on less is more.
Yeah.
And living a simple life.
No, I'll tell you, I totally agree with that. And we've definitely embraced a lot of that as we progressed through these last few months, is simplifying things and less reliance on other things. That's interesting. So they're out. Did you see any bears?
Not in the wilderness, but when we went to the preservation place.
I'm imagining they have bears that come near their cabin.
They've said that they've heard some, but I don't think that they've had any go over there. But they have a bunch of like bear-proof trash and a bunch of bear-proof stuff, because apparently they're all over the place.
Yeah, but you're not going to move to Alaska anytime soon.
No, man. I need to move to a beach, man. That's what I need to do. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's still in the plans?
Warm weather. Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point for a lot of people, is we don't have to have control of everything. And maybe not everything's going to go exactly as we planned, but we still get to navigate it.
I think it was Tony Robbins who said the more uncertainty you can handle in your life, the more successful that you will be.
Yeah.
And it's because we always like to know what's next. So something that I've done, I shared with you earlier, I completed the 75 hard program after 4 attempts. So anyone out there who has failed, just know it took me 4 tries. And I'm doing the follow-up piece called Phase 1 of 75 hard, which is the same challenge, except you're adding a 5-minute cold shower, 10 minutes of visualization, and 3 power list tasks, meaning like 3 tasks that you must get done that day, and they can switch every day. So the 10 minutes of visualization, I have found that instead of trying to focus exactly on where I'm at and what I'm doing, I'm trying to focus a lot more on the feelings. Imagining myself with people laughing, cheering, just being like, yes, celebrating, laughing until I'm crying, all these emotions that I want to feel. And I feel that it has been replicating itself lately.
That's good.
Because I don't know if you remember, but when Corona first started, before trials reopened, and when all this was pretty new, definitely wasn't all rainbows and gumballs for me and for most. Like, it was really, really tough.
Yeah.
But I think like in time working through this and this visualization thing kind of being a new thing for me has been really effective. So that's one more thing I would like to share with our audience is really visualizing, not only visualizing, but trying to feel and imagine yourself feeling the emotions that you want to feel more consistently.
Yeah.
That can be really effective.
Yeah. No, that's good advice.
Yeah. Well, you ready to do some practice?
Yeah, let's get them some work.
Cool. So first part of purposeful practice, guys, is to really reflect on how can you become more present every day. It can be as simple as asking yourself, am I being present right now? Asking yourself that question a few times a day. There's many different ways you can do it. Also reflect on what good have you seen in the world lately. There's definitely some good out there. Reflect on that. Part 3, what's something recently that has made you laugh? And then part 4, email your practice to onpurpose.official@gmail.com.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, it's always exciting for us to be able to give back to our community, and something that we greatly value. And I think if we're being truly honest, we get as much from you as we give to you. So we're thankful. And remember, if you want to go deeper into community, sign up on Patreon. Come join us there. And we definitely appreciate your support as we continue to try to grow this thing. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.